Thank you. That want to increase access to education in rural areas.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I talked about, I'm like, well, listen, how come the system of education? She sees that with like,
No, you're not. Yes, I am. She said, but you know what? She said, that's what I like. It didn't matter. And she said, because I can't talk about my ex. So she said, no, that's my ex. Oh, right. And she said, and I talked to Connie, which is her wife. Said, Connie said,
we got civilization 16,000 years in history. And
I feel like I wrote down your comment.
oh, this is her partner.
Why are we not looking at the knowledge that we have?
I mean, because we like her. Yeah. And they were really concerned.
Plagiarize.
Mostly, we gotta get, you know. She said, what you mean? I think that that's just lose that.
Yeah, we do lose that.
Is this where you're presenting at?
Are you waiting for me? Okay, so what's happening?
I'm going to play a video.
Okay. I don't want to get it.
Yeah.
But two million words of my elders come to me that have inspired me yeah, but hopefully you'll shoot it.
Concentrate.
And actually, I don't do this all the time, but I used to help with these early icons.
Well, it's not together, it's this culture right now, but then they're gonna split up. There's some research for it.
Yeah, quick question. Okay.
And then, like I said, I'm going to show
I'm reading it.
She was from 3 years ago.
Okay, yeah, one of my cohort members.
Yeah.
What will help them sort of bring down
So that's how they found out about me. I'm living here close enough to Cincinnati because moved me to Indiana because her mother was an engineer.
And so then, in terms of, right, well, that's what I was going to say.
along
In
with that, like
terms
Dozier State had to have it, that was back before everything, right? That each of those things matter.
So in
Each of those
terms of
things is
this,
different, right? And so I think that the message that is moving along and that you
great.
think about suicide and hopelessness, right? And you think about the way that like people
Oh,
can
yeah.
marginalize
If I make it that far over, I might be going to the
I was
Make
there
it
once
that
just
far,
for,
yeah.
Latinx, you know, I mean, they hit like a certain point where they're reading everything they can read. Latinx authors, right?
How about you?
Because they have
pretty.
You're on
Yeah, well, and now I'm just in a just making graphics, a little tiny bit of.
Okay.
Still.
and so with that include.
Okay, and then my video, I just want to make sure that that
all those things, my ability to see
is
for
gonna
myself, my sense of self-worth, that connection to my society, right? All of those things are things that are
Okay, yeah, that's what
And the volume is closest to you right beside the wall.
Oh, the whole thing was great. Great, I think I'm
Good to
very
go.
much. Thank you so much
You got it.
for all the
Cool.
paper and the questions and everything. Well, one, I can't even believe that they're calling it's a promo.
No promo.
But that's an appropriate name for even if that's what you believe. You know what I mean? Right, but anyway. And the other thing was, oh gosh, I just lost it. Just thinking of that name.
Yeah.
Why are they even allowed to name it that?
Yeah.
But that says a lot. But I have to remember the other one and give her time.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, thanks. Okay, so, yes. I haven't talked to Dr. Burns. I just had talked, I did send him an email, but we haven't had a chance. So we were going to try to connect after the conference today. So I think at lunchtime we're going to try to connect, okay?
But that other Dr. Atkins,
Yeah, that's the class that you prefer to take, right? Is to take, okay, so I'll connect with, I haven't even seen Dr. Burns yet today, because I presented at 8 and at 9:30. So I'll find Dr. Burns and just make sure with him that that's okay with your schedule, because I can't see your schedule.
I think that would be fine.
Okay.
I think she has one that starts this afternoon.
Yes, and she said it was fine for you to come this afternoon.
Yes,
Yeah, so I would plan to go to that.
Okay,
Okay.
excellent.
Are you gonna be
So,
around here?
Yeah, I will be around.
Okay, and then who has the forms for me? Somebody has forms for me?
She said that you would have to send her an email, because,
Who was it that you talked
is
to?
it Jackie or is it Jane? There's three ladies back there in financial aid.
Jean?
Jackie, Jean.
Jean Pullman?
Right.
Okay,
And
Great.
she's in here.
all right, I'll connect with
Okay,
her. Thanks so much.
This was the last official thing I had to do, so I was gonna ask you, what are the other expectations of faculty at my level to do the rest of the week?
That's up to you, really.
What would you recommend?
Yeah,
Anything?
I mean,
We've got Wednesday left here.
right, so Wednesday, I mean, this afternoon it's all classes, so you don't really have to do any of that.
Thursday, I was gonna be doing a phone call training thing with somebody,
Yep,
but
that's totally fine. I mean, you can attend the Martin Luther King if you want to. Those are optional. You know, sometimes faculty tell me that they're able to attend. On Friday, this is also another optional thing where the provost is bringing someone to give a lecture about recent music and Latin American history. There's this faculty reception, which is really where you see like privileges to the outgoing cohort, basically.
but I don't know that usually.
And then you're leaving, are you
Some
leaving
nice
on
people there.
Friday? You're leaving on Friday?
Well, that's what I was
Yeah.
trying to decide, if I should stay or if I should.
Totally up to you.
Close to being missing me a little bit.
Yeah, that's
and then
totally
she was-
fine.
She was being nice about it. but I
It's
think
totally up to you. Yeah, so when people are,
Mostly I wanted to get to know my cohort people, and we've got all of
Yeah.
our Zoom sessions done.
there isn't anything else that you're required to attend. So usually when people are just teaching at one class or they're affiliated, they say, like, you can come for the whole week, you can come for part of the week, it's affiliated.
Well, I wanted to get the feel of the culture, I think I'm getting that.
Yeah, I think it was great that you were here for the faculty meeting in the beginning, and then, for the other event, opening dinner, and then your class as well.
Is there possible more future involvement for somebody like me here, or do you think, or is
You mean in
this?
terms of like
Well, I talk about
classes?
I understand that there's something like an over 100 associates. There are so many faculty now.
We have a
abroad.
small number of affiliates, and it really depends. Did you meet?
Since you're the one who pulled me in.
I'm trying to figure out, like, where do I go? Where do I sit? It's like a random.
Yeah, or maybe wait for today or something. So that might, oh, that's Thursday, but maybe you can find it before that. Yeah. So, I mean, you don't have to stay for that. I mean,
She's here probably, right?
she is here. I think she has a session going on, but I don't know if it's going to be.
You guys.
If I find her, I'll tell her to
Standing
find
there,
you.
I take a
I can already. Yeah, I mean, I've been presented.
Yeah, so you had a nice, I like bringing it here, I love that.
This was my job, and I used it to start a campfire in the summer.
Yes, very journal. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Yes, so everything seems to be going well. You know, it's a little bit confusing when the breakfast was going where, but everybody seems to be doing well. Breakfast was good. Breakfast was good.
People just see it and then they don't think they fit in it.
Right.
Oh, you're.
Literally, I'm waving at her driving, and she's like, who's waving? So I can have her come follow me to that community, but they realized who I was.
That's good service.
Yeah,
That's
that's
good
right.
service.
Right, Shakima, we got you in.
That's good service. We send the provost out to catch you on the road and bring you to the right building.
I'm such a good driver.
Apparently, he knows you're a VIP or something.
Do not believe what he says about my driving.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything about it.
Oh my God, Monique and I were in an Uber yesterday. God, did you hear about this? At the parking lot, insurance company on the Oh, we were very lucky to be fine. I mean, we both are so like, we were like, yeah, we are.
Sorry?
Okay.
We advise that the students on our
you ever been here? This
No,
building?
I have not.
It's like red light, really?
Yeah, the whole time, you know, when I was here. Like, the first go around, somehow I missed the tour.
Yeah, I missed the tour too.
I might
Is
have-
there a tour here?
I don't know, do they even do the tour anymore?
I don't know. I know my first residency they did, but I missed it. I think I probably slept or something. Who knows? But so I got all of a sudden, here. So at least I'm glad I get to see it, right? Now I
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was thinking,
yeah.
I've never been. There's a picture of her. People in my cohort.
Oh.
Me, Diane, Jeremiah.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Yeah. No idea that our pictures are plastic.
No, I did not either.
Small and intimate, huh?
Yeah? You never know.
I am the moderator. Hear me?
I could have used that this morning. I've been so helpful for my pages. Oh, well.
Good morning. My name is Melissa Cindy. I am cohort 26, ethical and creative leadership, and I'm a specialization. I am your moderator, timekeeper, and introducer. I know that my friend and scholarly colleague, Ture Suma, is passionate about Congo, and that she is an incredible artist, activist, and educator, whom I deeply respect. So I should have not been surprised to find myself sort of impulsively and with fervor volunteering myself as moderator for this presentation. I knew this workshop would be a memorable and exciting treat for us at Conference Day, and I'm proud to be part of it. Today's program is based on Ture's experience last year in Congo with an artist collective whose work is largely commentary on the inequality, dysfunction, and dangers of life in the city. These artists take action by bringing their art to the streets. In addition to their own work, they offer free arts programming for children in this area. They recognize the importance of creativity and culture as part of healthy, positive growth. That's lifted right out of the program, and I wanted to highlight that line because that's really where I kind of stopped to give some thought as to what I wanted to say today in my welcome. They recognize the importance of creativity and culture as part of healthy, positive growth. Creativity and culture are two things that are intrinsic to our PhD program here at Union. As a social justice program, the culture piece gets a lot of play, but as scholars, the creativity aspect, as much as we allude to it, it's something less often applied. Ture and I have chatted a bit this week about the importance of applied scholarly investigation more than a couple of times. Something we share is our background in the arts and the core value that creativity is vital at all stages of life and education. It's my hope that what you learn here today, you will take with you and apply in both your personal and academic lives. Something else Ture and I share, but we've never actually talked about before, is an affinity for Mihai Csikszentmihalyi.
Csikszentmihalyi.
I can never say his name.
It's okay.
The famous psychologist and great theorist on the subject of creativity. I'll end my introduction with a quote from his book on discovery and invention. Creativity is a central source of meaning in our lives. Most of the things that are interesting, important, and human are the results of creativity. When we are involved in it, we feel that we are living more fully than during the rest of life. Please welcome and give all your attention to Ture Suma.
start by showing this video, and it's in French, and it's got a lot of French stuff, subtitles and stuff, but it's the visual. I think it doesn't, I'm not going to translate it. It doesn't really need translation. I will talk a little bit about it afterward, but I think it's a visual journey, and I think it's going to speak for itself.
Kinshasa pour nous, ils ont vu la performance. Nous surtout, c'est la magnifique performance. Ben, si on Kinshasa pour nous, ça n'a pas été. Donc, ce que tu as, on a pour nous, certains d'entre nous récupèrent les récipes et déchets d'une consommation à laquelle ils n'ont pas accès. Droit d'expression limitée, expression permanente. À Kabamou, ils ont expression. Tu dois t'habiller, tu dois manger, tu dois faire des arts. Tu as des envies qui sont illimitées. Illimitées. C'est ça le système K.
A trailer for a film that's just coming out any minute now. And basically, Kinshasa is a city of performance and no one can stop it, is basically what they're saying. And they are talking about all of the issues, you know, why don't we have electricity, and why don't, you know, that's what all those performances are about. Their commentary, the press is not free, and all of those things. But underlying message is that in Kinshasa we perform in the streets, and no one's going to get in the way of that. So I want to start. Let me get this thing going properly. I want to start by saying that our objective today is to engage in the creative process and to work collaboratively or individually on a project. So you're going to make something. So I hope that you read the thing and you knew you were going to make something, and you're going to get messy, and hopefully it's going to be fun. And again, we're not here to be master artists or creative, and we're just here to express something visually. So I hope it will be fun and enjoyable and a little risky and all of that. Beyond just putting color to paper, we're also going to talk about the process of using art and the creative process as a means for unpacking some of the issues that we're facing today. So, you know, the theme here is passion, action, hope, and dangerous times. And it was the dangerous times that talked to me, you know, because it is. So what do we do when it's danger? We get fearful and go hide, or, you know, what do we do? And so what a lot of people I know do is they take action in really maybe bizarre ways. So I want to share that with you because it's also fun. And it's a way to gain new perspective, ask different questions, inspire hope and action. So in the book, Philosophy of Flesh, which is sort of discussing like what does it mean to be human, Lakoff and Johnson implore us to push against the barriers of traditional ways of knowing. And I think, you know, as humans, we are routine oriented, and we get used to knowing things, thinking we know stuff, thinking we know how to find out stuff if we don't, and forgetting that actually there's a new way, to get information, and if we go down that path, there's questions we didn't even know to ask and to think about. And so that's what I think the arts can do for us, and that's what I see the arts do. The creative arts offer a pathway to opening, discovering, and obtaining new knowledge. Patricia Levy takes this idea a step further in her work involving arts-based research as an inquiry process where the researchers themselves actually engage in the art as a way of gaining knowledge and figuring things out. So with those basic tenets in mind, I want to lead you on a visual journey which highlights a group of artists that I met when I was in Kinshasa just in October. And they use their art to disrupt their communities and begin a dialogue about the issues that they're facing. Historically, Martin Luther King called for disruption of communities and specifically to fight injustice by dramatizing an issue to the point where it can no longer be ignored. The artists of Ndakia Vietbel take their art into the street, disrupting the roadways. I mean, they are in with the traffic. And I don't know what your traffic experience is, but in African capital cities, traffic is not like anything that I have seen anywhere. And I haven't been to Asia, so I don't know. I haven't been to India. I've heard it's pretty intense there. But being in the middle of the street is dangerous. Cars do not stop. There are no stop signs or flashlights, or none of that even matters. People drive the wrong way. People make an extra lane. In Kinshasa, it's the infamous third lane. There's only supposed to be two, but they'll just create another one. So it's not just like, here going out into the street, but you'll see, it's a dangerous thing. So they do that because that's a way to get people to notice. If you can't move, if I am in front of you, you must stop. We must disrupt your daily being, whether it's walking down the street, you're going to take a look, or whether it's driving somewhere in your car. A little bit of background on the Democratic Republic of Congo. It has a complex history of colonialism and conflict. People continue to fight for their rights of freedom of expression and a true democratic government. According to World Bank statistics, 73% of the population live in extreme poverty. The country is home to valuable minerals and precious metals, holds the second largest rainforest in the world, and the Congo River holds massive potential to generate enough hydroelectric power to power a majority of the continent. So there's just a lot of potential there that is still trying to come together in a positive way. But they also, the communities in DRC battle issues such as electricity and a need for running water, and they also battle some of the same issues that communities across the globe face, like plastic waste, access to health care. So on top of that, they have unique challenges like Ebola, invasion from neighboring countries, displaced communities, and the long-term after effects of colonialism, and deadly vipers, apparently, which I just saw that headline. So it's like, it's from the, the things that we consider, we think we know, there's war, there's fighting, and then there's also these deadly snakes. So, and the rain, I mean, the other thing I think people maybe don't think about that is really a big deal in the capital. Every time it rains, it's not just, oh, there's a massive rain, but every time it rains, the streets are flooded, maybe knee-high, you can't really drive in them. People get electrocuted because the power lines fall into the puddles, and, well, they're not puddles, but they fall into the flooded streets. And so people's walls fall down. Like, even just the rain, which they have rainy season, is deadly. And so they're just fighting everything from nature to officials to, But there's hope always. And despite Kinshasa being home to over 11 million people, I found this quiet little street that looks like a nice tree-lined street that could maybe be in any city across the world. It's called Victoire. It's a bustling hotspot in the city. It's known for the Matonge district, which is a very artistic. They're home to some of the most popular and well-known Congolese artists like Papa Wembe and Kofi Olomide, and other musical celebrities. So at nighttime, things get really jazzy, and there's dance, and there's people, and it's crowded, and it's a vibrant city energy. So I was surprised to find this beautiful little street, which, nice trees. I love trees on the street. Down the street, here's the house. It's kind of basic. They have space for a small cafe in front. There's several rooms inside for artists, a large common area for rehearsing, creating, and meeting, and they use the spacious outdoor areas for creating and building in community. So if you have a project, you simply propose it to them, and you can get a room and stay there. And it's just so I thought, oh, I could just stay here. It's just so simple and inviting, and they just want to, it's creative. They just want to be creative in community. Here's some of the guys that are currently in residence. There's also a few women, 2 women who weren't here at the time the photo was taken. And in addition to the people who are living on site, they also, the space is available for bands in the community to come and rehearse, for dance groups. You'll see for an elder, this is a rehearsal of an elder group, the Bakola Miziki. So in his book, Youth, Politics, and Conflict in Africa, Jan Abink talks about the challenges that youth in Africa face as a generation that's in between. Often they've lost the ability to follow traditional rites of passage. They're unable to engage in what we would consider your normal assumptions of responsibility. Move out, get a job, support a family. Specifically, he describes youth as set in a context of faulty modernization, social rupture, and inequalities of economic opportunity or power. But these youth are reclaiming their power. They use their creative space to support each other, to support the community and the youngest generation, all on the proverbial less than $1 a day. So one of the things that was so impressive to me was that I don't know how they make money. You know, they offer free programming for the kids in the neighborhood. I don't know how they do that. It's a challenge, so here's kind of the common room, and you see the costumes that they've made, some were like those in the video that they're gonna put on and go out into the streets. The chicken is not a real chicken. These artists have taken a stand to define their role as youth, as community members, as citizens, and as leaders. Here we see one of the artists in the common space, surrounded by the costumes created in response to the social issues of the community. I believe there is a connection between the popularity of this performance art in the street to the history of traditional mass dances, which is still prevalent, but it's kind of, it's at a distance. The youth are at a distance from their culture and their tradition. So I believe this is how it has manifested in a contemporary version. Zoe Struther is a Columbia professor of African art, and she explores the birth of a mask and how new mask dances have been created historically. She proposes that the traditional arts are not static, but they can become a means of commenting on political and social conflict. So what we see here is the artist of Ndako using a traditional and culturally familiar art form, the mask dance, and modernize it to comment on and agitate for social change in their communities. And so whether they know it or not, historically and culturally, this kind of mass dance in the community is something that happens. So the older generations have a sense of, oh, this is something I know. You know, this is a way of communication that I understand. The artists work collaboratively to create the costumes, even to put on the costume. So he's knitting the cans together there, and then he needs someone, right? It's always about being together and needing someone. He's not going to be able to, you know, get his mask on without the help of a friend. There's always this high energy. This is a rehearsal going on. Those bits and pieces are about to become another costume. There's always 7 different things. Creativity is just in the air. It's vibrant. The energy, action, and forward motion. Okay, so I'm going to show you a series of slides, and I'm not going to talk about them. They illustrate the costumes that the artist created and the issues they are meant to address. While each of the images could be an entire presentation of its own, that's why I'm not going to say anything, because otherwise I'm going to go too far. Today we're just focusing on how the creative arts could be used as a tool for initiating social change. So these are some of their costumes that they went out into the streets with. Dealing with plastic pollution. This is one river in a neighborhood, but this is everywhere, all around the city. So it's pretty extreme. And then you have this kind of Mami Wata emerging, plastic Mami Wata emerging from pollution. More issues about public sanitation. Yeah. These are water bags. So on the street, you can buy water in these small little sachets. It's like a sip, you know, a couple gulps of water, and they're everywhere. This costume is made out of syringes. And this, I mean, the guy in front of the bus, like it's not a small thing. The comments on the women who need to be cooking with the charcoal and cook stoves, and also just not having the same amenities in their houses that you would maybe want. Electronics, the origin and access. The origin, this one is really huge and near and dear to me. The origin of all of our cell phones and electronics stems from minerals that come from Congo, and yet they don't benefit from any of that, and they frequently don't have the phones and the internet access and all of those things. So that's a huge issue that they need to comment on. And then these little cups, you can buy them for less than water, less than soda. They're like a little shot of alcohol, and it's so free and available. And then the issue that taxi drivers end up, and other people on the drunk driving, is, you know, it's an issue. The indoctrination of European beauty standards, and then the erasure of historical heroes. This is a comment about Kempa Vida, who is a political and religious leader, and her story has been hidden and changed and erased. And so, rape as a weapon of war, which is a very big problem, especially in the east part of the country, where they continue to deal with neighboring countries and conflict over the minerals that are there, that we all want and Western countries use. So this is really dramatic. You know, you're on your way to get something at the store, and then this thing happens. And so what do? Do you talk about it? You know, how do you process it? And these just show, you know, that they're in the middle of traffic. The police are there. If you noticed in the video, one guy got put in the back. They had shared their stories with me of the police, and some video clips of the police following them and telling them, you can't go here, you can't go there, and they're like, we went anyway, and then the police are there. And so every decision they make about where they're gonna, you know, he's walking with cans, how dangerous is this? And yet, the police want to regulate it, and they have to make decisions about their movement. So, often, many of these projects are funded by and developed in partnership with outside groups, and the artists have made a commitment to the children of their neighborhood. They offer creative experiences even when the funding is gone. So these guys come in, they do a great thing, and it's wonderful, but then they go home, and the funding is finished. However, as one of the artists told me, even though the money is gone, the children are still here in our neighborhood, and if the government is not stepping up to provide programs and, you know, care for our children, then we have to do it. Often foreign funding focuses on hot topics like child soldiers, street kids, AIDS, and these artists recognize that all children need to be creative, to build, play, and manipulate. They need to express their ideas and learn about their culture. So they offer art experiences just to the children in the neighborhood. You don't have to be a victim or a this or a that. You have to just be here. You just have to be a child. And their programming, it's not just art, but it's culture and historical lessons. The artists serve as mentors, educators, and they even provide snacks, because one thing they know about the kids in their neighborhood is that they're always hungry. So this guy here in the back with the bus, it's one of the most powerful images to me, because that's a lineup of a timeline of historical heroes for Kinshasa, and not just heroes, but the presidents and so he's giving them some drawing opportunity and lesson, but he's also giving them a history lesson that they're not going to find in their school programming. And then I talked to him this past New Year, how's it going? Hope everything is fine. And he's like, yeah, we didn't have any paints this year, so we just sang. We couldn't make art, so we just sang, but it's still creative. I'm sure the kids still have a good time. A particular artist that talked at length with me about his work and his philosophy that I found impressive, Pressy Numbi. His project is to construct these robo-costumes with children. He prefers cardboard as his material because he sees it as a metaphor. Children need to be guarded and protected, which the cardboard sort of does, but it's also flimsy and precarious, a mirror of their lives and the lives of those who are trying to care for them. Cardboard is accessible, it's generally free or cheap, and it's easily manipulated by the children. The children who work with Pressy create their own costumes and parade through the streets, feeling empowered and celebrated. Pressy has had success with his program in Congo, and so he's been invited to work with children in Burkina Faso, also using the same creative process to initiate discussions around childhood violence, poverty, and equality. So what he does is bring children who are victims of violence or former child soldiers or those children together with children of the community, and one of the things he says is once they put on those robo costumes, they're all equal. They go marching down the parade and no one knows who is who, and they just all feel like we're the kids of the neighborhood and we're marching for ourselves. So after leaving Kinshasa, I returned to my own studio and I had to think about, well, what is my issue? What is the thing that really gets me agitated? And I'm interested in using money as a medium to explore perspectives around capitalism and poverty. And I really feel strongly that the systems of money kind of, at the end of every tunnel we go down, what's the problem, it comes down to the system of capitalism. And when looking at a country like Congo, I'm thinking that's not the solution. So what's the alternatives? What are the other ways of being to help lift people up out of poverty, give them access to basic needs and rights? In Patricia Levy's work, returning back to that, her arts-based research and engaging in the creative process to determine new knowledge and questions, I collected bills from different currencies and researched the history of American editions. So these are works in progress, they're not finished. I had hoped to bring a series, but you know how time goes. And so I'm just exploring working with money, which has actually brought up a lot of emotional stuff. Questions, new questions have come up, and new ways of framing issues around economic inequality and injustice. So what I want you guys to do, and what I propose that we do now, I really just wanted to spend a short amount of time talking and the rest of the time creating. I'm hoping that you will think of something that's on your mind that you maybe want to explore in a new way, and then I have some materials to create some things together or separately, you know, however it feels safest for you to do. And I think that the best way I would suggest to do that is to figure out what is your issue, your one thing you want to concentrate on. Pick one simple symbol for it and then make it big in the middle of the paper. Cut it out and paste it in the middle of the paper, whatever. Find a way to show it right in the middle, really big. And then just try to fill in the rest of the space either by repeating it, by working with color, by working with texture. There's a lot of different things also over there to just add intuitively and not worry about anything, but just, oh, this, it looks cool, stick it there, right? And just keeping the issue in your mind is what's going to guide your decisions, whether you know about that or not, so don't think too much. And maybe if you want, talk with others while you're creating and being aware of your own things that come up. That's the arts-based research, right? While I'm engaging creatively, what's happening inside, what questions am I thinking of, what's coming up. So if that sounds fine with you guys, we can get our hands messy over here. And I'll just give you quickly a few tips, maybe, or suggestions. There are some hats, because hats are, you know, they're out there. You got your MAGA hat, your pussy hat, your Ubuntu hat, you got that. So there's fabric paint, you could just squirt on here, or paint on here, or draw on here, or cut up. I mean, none of this stuff is sacred, so just cut and destroy. You can try these things to make color. And there's small t-shirts also, same thing. Make something on it big or not, or cut it. There's canvas and paint, so you could take a small paper, put something big in the middle, and I kept it small so you could just fill in around it. And there's collage. So, you know, if you're thinking of something in, one example, when I was talking with my aunt, she was school shooting was formation for her, and she was thinking about the memorial stuff we make, with little teddies and shoes and flowers that we create. So, you know, build something with images or headlines or words or whatever, and just have fun is the idea. Don't be afraid, just dive right in. These were also here for working on. here.
Oh my God.
I don't even want to think about it.
I do think it's a little bit of hair, but I think that's gonna make a mess. Right, just use some.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought people would cut it up and take it.
Where all this stuff come from?
You know, I have this classroom that I'm teaching art now, and there, before me, the woman was there for like 30 years, and there is, well, you can see. So I just brought some of that, and some of it I bought, but stuff piles. Yeah, it's a one suitcase.
I got the fire protector on my plate for glue.
Do you think you need glue? There's enough. There's a couple of glue. Is this one you're using?
That's the one I was using, but I'm not using it anymore, so.
Oh, you're not? Oh.
I'll bring it up.
Ray, I was so excited to see, you know, the stuff about the artists themselves. It never occurred to me until we were watching your presentation that how cool it is to get like a window into a completely different world. You know, I've never been anywhere in Africa. And I was just like, some of the images are just.
This particular thing, which is very strong in Kinshasa, I mean, each culture has their own art form, but this one is really strong, and it can be alarming if you're walking down the street, and some of the costumes also,
Yeah.
quite intense.
It did remind me of what footage I've seen of like Mumbai. Just the crowd, you know, just the chaos of like, there's no traffic laws. I got someone on a plate. So smart like that.
Or you share.
You sure good. Thanks. Maybe a little more though. I just need to touch. I was gonna say. I did a whole semester on, and by the end of the semester, I knew how to spell it, no problem, but I still can't say it.
I can't spell it, so you're right.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to read stuff. That was interesting. More about you and what you're doing, and what you do.
Scissors right there, that's. Well, there's a good parallel, and I don't think
So maybe we have, like, maybe 18 minutes or something, so maybe in 5 or 6 minutes, we could share a little bit about what we made, or what we were thinking, or we could just show on that top if we want. And then I guess maybe if there's any questions.
This looks like me.
It's
just so
you're ignorant, you, if I can see inside.
God, you're right.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing there. I'm not trying to insult you.
No, I don't want to insult her. I'm just worried about weight.
Complexity, okay.
Yeah.
I'm very satisfied. I didn't think about it at all. Well, this semester, and I had wanted to share the piece I drew. I couldn't write the paper. I could only draw the picture. But it was enough. It was for Dr. Samantha's class. And starting the drawing, and it's like a quarter of the way finished. It was enough. So, good.